When you come to Rio, you have to compare. In this country, you have to compare with it, Rio to Rio, Brazil to Brazil, like it was like 10, 15, 20 years ago. So like 5 years ago, this favela was completely dominated by drug lords. And the office of the mayor, the former mayor, they had the windows was bulletproof. So this is not anymore. This is a place where I can go all the time now.
But the security situation, it's fair to say, hasn't completely solved itself.
Not at all. I mean, when Brazilians are not saying we've solved all the problems, or we're saying this is a much better place than it was. I mean, the crime rates have dropped in Rio and in the whole country a lot in the past few years. So we still got a long way to go. We still got lots of things to do, but things are much better.
I'm sure a lot of people will be watching this around the world. They're about to board planes. They're about to come to the world famous Copacabana beach. Are you going to say to them, yeah, it's safe, you don't need to worry when you're here?
Yeah, it's safe, you don't need to worry when you're here. I mean, what I always say, it's like when we talk about security problems, we talk about our everyday life. And this is why we work the most. Rio is used to hosting big events with lots of tourists, especially on summertime. And there's not a history of violence against tourists, violence in the tourist areas of the city.
But there are a lot of muggings. I've heard loads of stories of people who've had guns pulled on them for their cell phone, for their necklace, for their whatever.
I mean, again, I'm not saying this is not a city that does not face security issues. This is not a country that does not face security issues. Things are much better, and we don't worry about the security issues during the big events, during the World Cup or the Olympics. We worry for our everyday life, and that's why we're working for it.
Sure. And in the favelas themselves, I mean, you know, yes, Santa Marta has improved enormously, but there are still a lot of favelas where there are a lot of problems. And one of the things that someone said to us was, look, the government came along and pacified our favela, but what's happened since then is there's been no investment. We need to improve the infrastructure, the sewage, and all the other problems.
I mean, again, this is a city that does not hide its inequality. We don't get the poor and throw them away. I mean, they are around. You see in the wealthiest areas of the city. It's not something like lots of cities in the world where you come as a tourist, you go only to the wealthy place. So they are all around. We're not saying that we don't still face lots of problems, but the situation in the favelas, not only from the crime perspective, from the violence perspective, from the infrastructure perspective, is also much better than it was.
Yeah, and
there are poor areas of the city. There are areas that there are lacks of infrastructure there, but they are much better than it was.
And what about schools, hospitals, the sewage, the drainage, all those other problems?
I mean, I saw the interview. I saw you walking this place. Where you were walking, it's with cement today, it's urbanized in the favela way. That was something done by government, and it was not like that a few years ago. I mean, you would walk on the mud there. So there's in the Santa Marta favela, there's lots of school. This favela is in an area of the city that has all the infrastructure. So there are schools, there are hospitals close by. I mean, it's not like there's this image that there are no services in these areas of the city. There's a lot to do, but there are lots of services being served there.
How much do you think Rio and your country will be judged by the success or failure of the World Cup? Because a lot of the narrative leading up to the World Cup has been about the strikes, the protests, the problems in the favelas, the pacification.
This is a free country. I mean, if you come to Brazil like 30 years ago, then you would have no protests, but the military would go take these people to prison just for them to be democratic protesting. So people have the right to protest. People have the right to push authorities to get things done. And I don't see that as a problem of our country. I see that as one of our greatest achievements. I mean, we became a democratic country, and that's not the history of Brazil. We are young in democracy. We cannot be compared to cities like the city of Rio, be compared to the city of London. Your subway, it's like 100 years old. Ours is still something that we are getting better. That's the point.
Okay, and let's turn to the World Cup, because I think you say that, the Olympic Games. You say that the World Cup, that's FIFA. The Olympic Games is how you're going to be judged. Is that right?
I mean, I'll say the Olympics is everything in Rio. And you're going to see that the Olympics in Rio, they have to do with the message of the Olympics, which is legacy. Rio got the Olympics not because it was better than Madrid, Chicago, or Tokyo. We got the Olympics because we were worse, because we had problems with our infrastructure, and we are going to deliver great legacy.
The Vice President of the IOC, John Coates, said that he called Brazil's preparations the worst in his experience.
You have what he said the other day? The next day he said, no, I didn't say that. So, I mean...
There are others who've said it as well.
Yeah, I know. I think we're going to have to prove ourselves all the time, you know, especially with the Olympics. I mean, from now on, we're going to have to show that we are doing Olympics of legacy. Most of the money of the Olympics in Rio are going to be private money. 60% of it's going to be private money. The venues are not going to be white elephants. So this is something that we have to prove ourselves all the time.